You have heard that Umamusume is a wit game, but to this day, you still might never understand how to use the Witmaxxing deck properly. Don't worry, in this video, I'll show you how to properly run the Witmaxxing strategy. Currently, this deck is only viable mostly for team trials, mostly for sprint and mile-distance racetracks. In the future, once Unity Cup is introduced, this strategy will become viable up to the medium distance racetrack, because Rico and the scenario will help with the stamina requirements. Without further ado, I'm pretty sure most of you already know the basic. We will be running 3 speed cards and 3 wit cards as the foundation of the deck. This is the most common variation. There are some other variations like running 2 speeds for wit card on a certain Uma if they have 20% speed bonus, or if you have crazy MLB cards like Kita-san Black and MLB Biko. Another variation might be where you run 2 speed cards, 1 Tazuna, and 3 wit card if you are high rolling, and if you have MLB cards. But the most accessible one for the free-to-play players and every player will be 3 speed and 3 wit card, as it's less punishing for cards that are not MLB. As for the speed card, it is really straightforward. We'll be running Kita-san Black obviously. If you don't have at least 3 LB Kita-san, then this will be your main card borrow. The other 2 cards for speed could be any SR speed cards that you have. It's fine if they are not at MLB. Or if you are fortunate enough to even have good LBs in your Bakushin or Biko, then definitely they are also viable. On the other hand, the wit card we want are specific cards. First of all, we want cards that have high initial friendship gauge. Why, you might ask? Because the faster we unlock their rainbow training, we will get back plus energy to hit more speed trainings. The best 2 cards for this example is Matikane Fukukitaru and Daiwa Scarlet Wit card. They have 40 initial friendship gauge at MLB, meaning that it's very easy to hit the orange bond gauge fast. With this, it also means that wit card like Ikuno Dictus that doesn't have wit friendship recovery in their kit is actually the worst card you want to run in the deck, because you will not be getting any extra energy recovery when you press the wit training, even if it's on the rainbow. The 2 next stats that you want to prioritize on the wit card is of course specialty priority for obvious reason, because you want them to be in the wit training as much as they possibly can. Most of the wit card actually have 35 to 50 special priority, so it's fine to choose any, but I just want to point this fact out. The other most important stats in the card we're looking for is increased training, as are cards like Meijiro Dober and Nice Nature, which we get for free from the event, has 15% increased training, or even the MLB Fine Motion if you borrow it or you are a whale obviously, also has 15% increased training. This is massive because if they wander onto other training, for example our best case scenario is speed, it could massively boost your stat gain. Here is a speed rainbow training without any boost from the wit card. This is the example with a training effectiveness card on the speed training. Now, here is what I would rate the priority on which wit card you should fit onto your deck. If we divide it onto a tier list, the S tier, of course, the high initial friendship gauge will be the highest priority. This will be Daiwa and Matikane Fukitaro. Obviously, MLB Fine Motion will go here for obvious reason, and on A tier, it will be all the SR with card that I have mentioned before. For example, the Meijiro Dober with card, Marvelous Sunday, Nice Nature. Low LB Fine Motion also goes here. Also, the SSR version of Meijiro Dober that we get for free from the event is also a pretty good with card. Now that we have the deck, it is time to go into the strategy and the actual gameplay to show you how it works. There is only 2 trainings that you want to click most of the game. Yes, if it's not obvious by this point, it is speed training and the weight training. And if by the end of the game you are not hitting level 5 on both, or at least level 5 and level 4 on both of these training, then you are doing Witmaxxing strat wrong. For the junior year, we will do the same strategy as usual, we will be maxing the bonds. Now, how do you know which training you want to pick? First, if there is 2 or more UMA in the speed or weight training zone, then definitely hit those. The more UMA in there, the better to build their bond gauge. The only time I would consider hitting other training zones, for example like stamina, power, or guts training, is when there are at least 3 UMA in those training zone. So what if there is only 1 UMA on every training, or technically just there is no good training at all? Well, then you can just hit the wait button or rest if your energy is low. Going into the classic year or after the junior year debut, you unlock another thing which can be added to your career runs. Yes, it is the race button. A lot of you guys might be confused on how these top team trials UMA are able to afford so many gold skills and white skills, right? The reasoning behind this is just they do a lot of races. On average, you will do like 18 to 20 races with this strategy. So, when do you actually do these races? We will be racing on what I call as a dead turns, or turns where there is no rainbow trainings, bad trainings, and your energy is above 60% at least. And also, I want to note that it is fine to race G3 and G2 races if G1 races is not available. If your energy is below 40%, let's say, then obviously you should rest and not risk it because by doing racing, if you get really unlucky, in your next turn you could hit, for example, a triple speed rainbow and you will regret everything, right? Now on to the rainbow trainings and their priorities. If there is a rainbow training, you obviously want to click it. The most optimal one is of course at least 2 rainbow speed training. You definitely want to click this. It is basically a must to click this, else you are actually breaking your own run. However, as the career progresses, if you are already too high on a specific stats, for example, let's say speed, you can skip on one speed rainbow training, for example. I usually skip the single speed rainbow training if it's not that good on the later half of the career runs, because you could be using this turn to race or press with. This is the hard choice. If there is a rainbow speed and rainbow with training, which should you choose? Well, if you have max energy, obviously you go for speed here. But on any other occasion, I would always go for the with training to get back the energy. The option becomes more easier if you see at least 2 or 3 with rainbow training. Definitely hit this over the 1 speed rainbow training because you definitely gain more energy back and you can spam more speed training later on. Another scenario that will confuse people is if there is 2 speed rainbow and 2 with training, which training do you click? In this case, I will always click the 2 speed rainbows. Trust me, this is the easiest way to max your speed, and 2 plus speed rainbow training should be prioritized over every other training. I'll even risk to click this training even if it's like 10% to 20% failure rate because of how crucial it is to get higher stats. That's pretty much the core strategy. Aside from that, the obvious things are always you go into summer with enough energy as usual. With this, you're pretty much set to go on the career runs and crush your team trials. I also want to mention out that the parents and what they are important for. Ideally, you want to focus on your spark on powers. Other stats are fine, but speed is the worst spark stat that you want on your parents because most of the time you will be capping on speed already with the Witmaxxing strategy. The reason we want power spark is that since we are hitting so many speed trainings, you will naturally get higher power too without hitting any power trainings. Now, this is only important if you want to have a higher rating for your UMA and team trials. By running this strategy, you will also have a lot of skill points by the end of the run. Usually I get like 1600 to 1900 skill points, which is enough to get a lot of gold skills and white skills. Here are a couple of examples of the runs I did with the Witmaxxing strategy, and this is the following decks. Now, I know some of you might complain that this deck is not relatable because it has MLB Kita-san and MLB Biko, but please do note that it is fine to even not have these MLB cards in your deck. This strategy is still viable. And I also want to share that these runs are not high roll runs. Obviously, I could still min-max most of this run, and I could even go further from the A plus runs to even S ranks runs if I get really lucky. And I'm also not running fully max stacks here. Like, for example, this Fine Motion and Bakushin-O is basically 0 LB because I simply want their gold skill hints for the team trials. So the stats are obviously far below what this deck could achieve. Although I must say that it's pretty unrelatable to most of us, right? Since a lot of people in the player base doesn't even have MLB Kifasan, if I must say so myself. Alright, and with that, we've come to the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed this with Maxing, as learning for this strategy is really important when it comes to building the Dream Trials team and Unity Cup in the future. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.